Central Lake Township Board meeting Wednesday, November 19th, 2014. The regular board meeting. Start with the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Kosloski here. Kotwick?
Here.
Mullens?
Yep.
Smith?
Present.
Bean?
There.
You have a quorum.
Any additions to the agenda? Not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Agenda is approved. Approval of minutes of October 15th, 2014, regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter read.
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Move on to public comment. Walt Ransom.
The amount last month for the fire truck, do you remember how much that was again? I thought it was something like 300,000. What was the amount? 269,000?
269,599.
It's in the minutes.
Just give us a minute till we get to it.
Second line down.
$269,599.38.
Okay, so I assume, I'm looking at the fund breakdown. It says general fund now is 428 and it was 650. So that says we took out $222,000 roughly. Is that went to the for the truck, or is because it doesn't come up to the number of 269 something?
Andrew?
Yeah, that's for the truck, but then we also had, different, money coming in and going out throughout the month, we're getting PTAF and, jump deposits and other things throughout the month.
For the remaining 30,000 roughly, huh?
Right. Yeah, that was just from other operations. The money for the truck came out of, most of it came out of the class investment, and then we just got another state revenue sharing, so that bumped it back up quite a bit.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Not, we'll move on to approval of invoices, $11,409.48.
I'll make a motion to pay bills.
I'll support. Clerk, please call the roll.
Kosloski, yes. Kotwick?
Yes.
Mullens?
Yes.
Smith?
Lost.
Please hold that now.
Well, that's what you call a drop call.
Out there lost in a snowstorm.
Yeah. Now, he's down south though, isn't he?
It's cold down there though.
Yeah.
gotta be on his end, because we were okay. Oh, there you are, where'd you go?
Internet problems, I think.
Okay. I was taking a roll call on paying the bills of $11,409.48. Sam made a motion, Stan seconded it. We're to you for approval.
Yes.
And Bean?
Yes. Okay, move on to officers' report. Fire Chief Bill Chapman.
Thank you. We had 20 calls last month. We had 8 fire calls and 12 rescue runs. And we did 4 runs into Echo Township. And we did training in a few areas, driver's training. We have 3 rookies that are still doing their driver's training to qualify. We did training in emergency medical services. Now we did training on hoses and the use of large diameter hose. And we did truck maintenance. And that was pretty much a month.
Do they all have to have a CDL though?
No, they don't. They have to have emergency vehicle driving.
Okay, that's what I thought, it's not the CDL.
It's a separate course, and they have to take the course, they have to pass the course, then they have to pass 30 hours of driving in our vehicles with one of our officers, non-emergencies, before they can drive in an emergency.
Okay, I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure. Thank you. Any further questions? None, thanks, Bill. Treasurer's report, Andrew?
Alright, yeah, as we mentioned, we paid off the fire truck last month, and then also, there was a $16,893 state revenue sharing that came in, and other than that, that's about all for that.
Okay, thank you. Clerk's report, Judy Kosloski.
Well, we're done with our elections for this year, thank God. It was constant all day. It went pretty smooth. There were some complaints, some issues with voters. But for the most part, I'm still looking for election workers. We're down, and hopefully by 2016, we'll find them and be ready to go in that election. I'm gonna look for a grant for voting booths. We use the lunchroom, but I think we had to have 2 and 3 stand up, so if we can get a grant to buy standing alone, that'll be okay, but I'll see. So that's it.
Good, thank you. Supervisor report, mine, Stan Bean. Antrim County Sheriff's Department had 72 events in our township in October. Also, we had a land parcel division split for Richard Pearson on Kotwick Road. And the way it is set up, it is approved by the assessor, and I don't find anything wrong with it. The board had given me the authority to sign it, and I signed that division request. That's all I have. Move on to waste receiving station. Do you have any comments on that, Andrew?
No, we're just getting our coupon books back from Jack, and then that's the only new thing going on with the waste receiving station is getting new books for them.
Okay, thank you. And everything seems to be going up smooth there. Tony has got the brush all pushed back, which it slows down through the winter, and everything again seems to be running smooth. They do have plans on working on a forklift. The brakes are out, and I think that they're going to repack one hydraulic cylinder, which needs to be done, and now they'll have time to do it. That's all I have on waste receiving. Move on to cemetery committee.
I don't have anything, I don't have anything on it.
Are those brick structures taken down yet?
Don't think they got to them, and probably won't get to them until spring now. Last time I was through, they hadn't got to them.
And now the snow's probably
Right,
so
yeah.
heavy, as the snow melts, they'll get them, otherwise I believe you're correct, Sam. Okay, facility,
I have nothing.
any other committee reports?
I have just a few things here, Stan. I filled out the information for taking over Bill Gadwell's spot on solid waste management. I sent it in, I attended their October 27th meeting, I introduced myself to people on the committee, had a long talk with Sue Reck and Dawson. Is it Wayne?
Jean?
Jean Dawson. And they hadn't received any information yet from Pete Garwood about my letter of acceptance. So until such, I'll be a spectator. I won't be able to get behind the table until I'm accepted. So that's with that particular liaison. I talked to Tony this past week, if he was able to get some, that poison ivy spray. He got one blast, the leaves started to turn brown and then got into the rain and snow. He said he'll wait till spring to get the second in there. One of the things at the solid waste management meeting was we were talking about the fee structures for funding solid waste and recycling for Hampton County. The county is in its last 3-year recycling contract, and then, which expires September of next year. They're going to enter negotiations with the present contractor, and they're looking at another one too, just to get a second fee. So, and according to Sue Reck, she mentioned that the current recycling contract will expire in September 2015. She noted that sending out bids might be necessary within the next meeting or two. Mrs. Koch said she had researched when the dates of previous bids were sent and talked to the county's civil council about their schedule regarding contract review. So that's in the stages. The next meeting is the last Monday in January. If I haven't heard from Pete Garwood, I will go as a liaison for this township until such time as my application is accepted. And that should about do it. Thank you.
I have a thing, I have one under facility, I forgot, the parking lots, lights, they're on all day long. We gotta get that sensor fixed.
Tony called Arn, he said he worked on them and
Super.
he couldn't, said he can't find out what any problems are on it.
Super.
So,
Okay.
no, I haven't talked to him, I don't know if he has any date of him being here, but,
He was here Monday.
what,
This one is tied up to its own circuit. When they did those lights, they had to go underneath the driveway because originally the sign was gonna be here, and then it was decided to put it over there, so they ordered new sensors for this one.
All I know is we gotta get some new
Okay.
sensors or
Yeah.
something on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay.
Okay, yep.
Okay, I guess that takes care of all committee reports. Move, there's no unfinished business, move on to new business. Everybody has a packet in their, or a letter in their packet, excuse me. Mortensen has always sold lots for us, we made him an agent, and he's done that without any fee. And then Gary says that a lot of times he ends up coming down and explaining to people where they can put their plants and helps them find location of graves. And if he continues to do that, he wants to be paid, and you have his fee schedule. So we'll open that up for discussion, what we want to do.
Shouldn't that be part of the process, sitting down with the family? And after everything is taken care of, between now, as far as taking care of the grave, this is what is expected of.
Okay, some of the townships sell the graves themselves. I mean, really, it is our responsibility to sell them. And since there was only one funeral home, we, at the time, when we passed our new ordinance, we made Morrison Funeral Home an agent and allowed him to sell them. Now, if there was more than one funeral home, I think that we would have to take over the sale of the lots. I mean, that's not giving, that's giving one an advantage over another one.
I got one question to ask. It says 10% commission on selling of the grave sites, plus a $25 trip? If you sell me, if I go up to Gary Martinson for some reason, we know I'll be there, and buy a grave from him, now, is he gonna tell me where it's at, or am I gonna have to pay him, or is the township gonna have to pay him an additional $25 to go down and say, it's right here? Or is?
That's how I read it, and that's how he kinda, when he came in to talk about it, because they're just not interested in spending the additional time.
And then my next question would be, how long has it been since you raised the selling price of grave sites?
Resident never goes up.
Never?
Every year, non-resident goes up $50. Resident is at $300 a grave. Right now, non-resident is $750.
Right.
And originally, we had where each year the graves would go up. But, and I think 2008, when everything, the economy got so bad, we put a freeze on the price increases for residents. I think that's not 2008.
I guess, does the board have somebody they feel comfortable enough to do this with, other than Gary Morrison? I guess that's the first question we need to have answered.
Well, I mean, most people, you know, you have a sexton, and I mean, probably one of our maintenance workers would be the one that would be responsible for it if we don't go with Gary. At the present time, there's not being a lot sold. Back previous years, I think one year we went $6,000, so I mean, that's 20 lots that were sold.
And I haven't gotten a check from them for a long time. Most people are going with cremation now. It's fast, it's easy, and it's cheap.
I don't know enough about it. You guys gonna have to tell me how this works.
I
I don't know, yeah. I guess I would go off whatever the board has done the last 30 years on the cemetery.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of they come in here, Judy's been taking care of everything in here, and Martin's has been taking care of with the people that come in there, but there's never been any charge involved. I mean, he did that as part of his service.
Sure.
And, you know, there's another way of looking at it. If he sold a tombstone, I mean,
Residential is how much?
3.
300, so 10% is $30. So you could physically be giving Gary Martinson $55 of that $300.
Well, 82 if they're gonna be marking the lot in the grave, so you know, add in another 25.
I forgot you were here. Yeah, if you
I'm
add
just
that
as
with it.
confused as you, Sam. I'm trying to understand why this isn't a cost to the customer.
Is there a way we can pass this on to him?
well, I mean,
Yeah,
go ahead, Andrew.
oh, I was just gonna say, it almost seems like it would be a customer cost because they're the one requesting the research of the records and everything. I mean, in looking at it, you know, if a resident came into the township, some townships charge for that service for the, you know, the clerk or whoever is responsible for those records. They would charge that fee, you know, the $10 to $25 fee for investigating. So, you know, it almost seems like it's a personal cost versus you know, a township cost or a funeral home cost.
And we've never charged. I mean, when the people come in here,
Right.
you know, I just get the
Right.
books and they go,
Right.
here you go, direct them to where they should be,
Yeah.
or take them over there, but we've never charged for it.
I don't know, this is a tough
Yeah.
one here. I
Yeah.
don't know what to say.
Well, it's, you know, it's new and,
I can
that's
see
why we're
Gary.
thinking,
And I don't blame Gary, he wants to
No,
be
'cause he wants
compensated
to
for
be-
his time.
And he wants to kind of move on, and Holly and Ron don't wanna have to jump, you know, they've got young kids in life.
I would love to figure out a
I
way
can see both sides.
to get it in there, but
When Joe and I went, bought our lots, I wasn't aware that we could come down here and do that. I thought everything was taken care of through the
It
funeral.
normally is. I've never sold a lot. Never.
But could someone come here and save the $82? And
I
just
can't-
buy
I
the
don't
lot
know,
here, or do
because-
they have to buy the lot from Mortenson's, or?
I'm more comfortable with them buying the lots from Mortensen because our maps are not up to date.
let's see that, I believe.
the only thing is if you get additional funeral home wanting to buy lots, I mean, as I made the earlier statement, we're fortunate there's only one funeral home, so, if you get more than one,
But I don't see another funeral home coming in.
no, I don't either, that's,
I could see saving the $82 though. I mean,
But-
some people may not, that's money.
I would like to see us figure out a way to add it into the cost of the lot. There's no reason we should absorb that cost.
I agree. So either we raise, you know, look at raising the resident lot from 300, move it on up to incorporate this.
Shouldn't, how does it work when Gary Mortensen when Gary Mortensen purchases a lot from the township? Does he call Judy and say, I sold one lot, so-and-so is gonna be buried within that lot, or how's that work?
He'll come down, he'll look at the map, he'll look at the cards to see where, normally it's a family member. He'll look to see how many plots are still open.
Yep.
Then he does it all from there, and I either get a check or the burial transit. But I have absolutely nothing to do with it. They do it all.
I hate to say it, but it should be a burden upon the family, the cost.
Incorporate
That
it,
wants it.
yep,
If the township opts to go with Mortensen.
yep. Add it to the price of the headstone, add it to the cost of the grave.
Or, yeah, make it a line item fee for everything, you know, the grave costs $300, you know, then there's a $25 fee for research and a $25 fee for marking the lot.
Yeah, I
Make
agree.
it an item on their bill as a business versus,
Us. I don't think it's our responsibility to pay for it. But like I said, I understand both sides. He's getting out,
Right.
Ron and Holly have,
I do too.
you know, I don't want him upset, but yet I don't want the people who, when they're coming to make these purchases, they're not in the best frame of mind anyway. Unless they buy them so many years in advance. I don't know, this is a tough one. And they've been doing this since 1980, so.
And he should be compensated for
Mhm.
it, if he's doing that for him.
Walter, oh, Bill?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Why not just give Gary authorization to go ahead and build a people farm? Whoever the customer, let him do it.
Well, I would assume that's how they do it anyways,
I
right?
mean,
Because
it's-
Gary takes care of it regardless. And he would be the one, Gary would know if he's gotta go down and mark the lot for the people that he sold it to or not.
Yep.
I would think. And if Mr. Martinson feels safe enough that he doesn't have to go down the market, or he doesn't have to make a trip down for whatever that bottom one was, well, now they've saved $50 right off the bat upon it.
Well, most likely, he's gonna dig the grave.
In the 20% cost, he's still gonna add that into the price of the lot.
See, at one time he didn't dig the graves.
Right.
Right. Kenny Kiesel used to dig
He
them, yes.
could get Vic's machine and he did all the digging.
Yep.
Well, now they're training the grandkids to do it.
And Gary should know at the time he sells the lot, whether or not he's gotta go down and mark it out for him or not. And he should be the one selling it to him,
And he should get paid for it.
and he should get paid for it.
Absolutely.
And the person
And
buying the
then,
lot should
because
pay.
then he probably writes a check to the township for the cost of the lot.
Yep.
At that point.
Yeah.
Because they pay Gary, and that's where the money should stay.
So give me my 300 and you, whatever you add on there, that's
That's
fine.
I agree with that.
Well, I think you guys control the cemetery, so you'd have to give an authorization
Right.
for whatever amount
Right.
that you think is.
Right, well, at the time, like I say, we declared that he was an agent. We had to give him that authorization. Alder, you have a comment?
A couple if I can.
Sure.
How hard is it to find the numbers so one can find the grave site themselves?
Oh, I have a book, and everybody is in the book, and I just show them, the map is on the wall, and I show them, but our map and the map at Mortensen's.
I understand that
Are not
part, but are they below the grass line, above the grass line? I mean, can you just walk out there and find the numbers that, you know, if you want to?
It's higher in the old section. The new section, those monuments haven't been put in that long ago, and it's better marked. Now, I don't know really, Walter, how well.
So if he-
I haven't gone through the old section and looked at it.
Are we still burying people in the old section?
If some family member that the family have plots in there.
Not very often though, right?
More often than on the old and the new.
Well, there's still a lot of.
So it would take Gary or somebody a longer period of time probably in the old section to find the right grave and the right lots.
Well, he's quite familiar with it.
But still, you gotta line it up, you know, and my
Just
second
he goes with
question,
his probes.
yeah,
Well, if you know where some of the
family members are, it's
the
what.
family members you already have, and you have your line straight through there, well,
Yeah, I understand all that.
I mean, you've worked in cemeteries, so you know.
My second question is Mortensen filling out the paperwork on that new form that we're supposed to be using to keep track of who the responsible person is for taking care of all the information for the family and everything?
Must be, because I don't do any of that.
The one that we come
All
up
I
with?
do is a certificate of burial.
Well, when we had the cemetery committee, part of that final resolve was that there would be a record kept on file here of the people who's responsible for making decisions on the property, so if there was ever anyone to be resold or whatever, it would be on file here. And that was when our previous clerk was in charge. And is anybody filling that form out and turning it in to our clerk or giving the clerk the information to keep track of it?
I can answer that, I've never even seen it.
So it's been a couple years or more now since,
Okay, whoever it's sold to, there's a certificate being issued, and that's the person that has the responsibility to purchase that lot. Now, if they purchase 1, 2, or 3, they're the ones that would have to be contacted. And yes, in that ordinance, after 40 years,
right? That's the reason that was all
Right.
developed.
after it's developed, that if there's nobody that can be contacted, those lots will go back to the township.
So is there a form someplace that's been documented and,
Only who bought the lots, well,
so how do you know who the contact person is 5 years from now something comes up? Aren't we supposed to have that on file here and it was supposed to be, the form was supposed to be developed for the funeral homes to fill out the information to give to the township so we knew who was doing what?
it's handled loosely. I mean, it depends on what Martinson has.
Who knows, Holly may have all that up on her records.
right.
I have nothing.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised Holly ain't the one taking
Well,
care of it. and
I'm
keeping
pretty
it in
sure-
the funeral
Right.
I'm
since
pretty
they're the ones
sure
taking care
that
of
the
cemetery.
revised, what do I want to call it, township resolution on this, I don't know what the
There was an
technical
ordinance passed.
Ordinance.
cemetery
ordinance
ordinance.
passed that is supposed to be kept on file here. That's my recollection. Can we look into that and see what's going on? I thought the idea was that we're gonna design a
Right.
form for the funeral homes to get. They get all the information from the family, then give that back to the township for us to keep it on our records to know if we ever come to that date when we wanna see if that can be repurchased or whatever, that we have a contact person for that reason or for other reasons, like like monuments getting hurt or what have you out there.
It's only 2 purchase lots, all we have the names of.
How do you feel about this, Dave?
Well, you know what I mean, there's, in a way, the people that are buried there has a responsibility. I mean, if this is the only money that we have coming in to keep up the maintenance and doing the, you know, we don't have anything put away to keep the upkeep of that funeral home. So, I mean, that means that we're taking a pay cut by not doing it. I think that, you know, pretty much what the board says, is it should be an added fee.
Would you like a motion?
Well, yeah, you know, until everybody, give everybody time to, you know, have a discussion, open discussion on it. If we're done, yeah, I mean, that's the way we're gonna settle it with a motion.
Dave, go ahead.
Whatever we do, we should do it so it continues to flow smoothly as it has been. Now, it may cost us something, it may cost Mortensen something, and it's surely gonna cost the grieving family something.
Oh, I don't think it should cost us or Mortensen anything, write it into his costs.
Okay, that's one way to go, sure. I'll go for that. It should be one bill that is presented to the family. And in that bill is our cost, his cost.
Well, I'm sure Gary would have to break it down no matter what.
Oh,
in
yeah,
his
I'm
bill,
sure it will.
for tax purposes,
Right.
you know.
Make it as simple as possible for
Right.
people to understand.
Are you still with us, Andrew?
I am, yep, I'm with you on that, I think if, Mortensen, if we, you know, say that Mortensens are allowed to, charge their customers this fee schedule, and maybe we can revisit it, or, you know, however often Mortensens wanna revisit it, maybe put that in there, maybe every year, couple of years, they can revisit their fee schedule and make sure it's, you know, keeping up their costs. If there's some, do we have to, you said we have to give them the authorization to charge them this?
Well, we made them an agent. Yeah, I feel that, I mean, they can charge for their services. I don't think we have to give them any authorization for their services. But if we're requesting it, then I think that, I mean, under this letter, we're going to be paying for it. Or that's my interpretation.
Okay,
And the
me
way I
too.
read it too.
Yeah, so I think we authorize them to charge what they have to charge,
Yeah,
to
to set,
cover their costs, and leave us and themselves out. It's gotta go back to the,
Customer,
customer, client,
yeah, whatever you.
whatever you call them. But I don't think it should be our responsibility.
okay, if you'd like to make a motion, I think you got everybody's feeling.
I don't even know how to begin to make the motion now, people.
Okay, so,
I definitely believe,
how about motion to authorize Mortensen Funeral Home to rework their fee schedule to include the costs presented to the township?
To their buyers or customers, or however you wanna
To the,
word that out. You know,
to the,
it's a tough one.
Now, the only other thing is that if he doesn't do it, the average person's not gonna be able to find his lots, so it's gonna become our responsibility, so we're going to have to either have Tony or someone else locate these lots for him.
well, I don't think it should be Tony's responsibility either. That's a big responsibility.
Well, whoever each cemetery has a sexton, and whoever we point for a sexton, I mean, I use Tony as
Well,
one of
I
our
do-
maintenance worker. I mean, that can be you, it can be whoever we want.
Well, I do, you know, telling them where their loved ones are. They come in here, I show them the map, I give them the information that we have.
Okay, now, we're gonna have to make sure those monuments are visible. Now, like downstate, you go into the funeral home and they give you the number of the lot where you can go and look on the edges, and these monuments are up to a point where you can find them.
Ours are buried in the old section, because when I had Larry
Well,
walk in it last year,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
or they're broken or they're gone.
Now, I mean, we're going to have to help the person,
Certainly.
and we're going to have to appoint somebody to do it.
I don't mind doing it, I've been doing it. But what I'm saying is, how are we gonna, recreate all these markers that are gone?
Well, I doubt if they're gone, there should be an iron in the marker. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know
A
about
lot
the
of them
old
are
section.
marble and they're gone, they're broke. Because when I had to walk a couple times last year trying to find people, you can't find a marker.
Well, some of them might be covered over by sod now, and are difficult to find. If, once you know the geographics of the whole area, if you have, you know, you can find one and then you can plot backwards, forwards, east, west, north, south, until you can get to where a number should be and go from there.
That's what I did last year, I took the map out there.
Yeah. But they're all these lots, I assume in the old section, I guess that's a bad assumption, are basically the same size. You got, what do you call a lot? An individual grave, or a group of 4, or a group of 10?
Some are 4, some are 6.
The older section were all 6.
Right, so them are all the same
Before,
size
the
as in the
size of
old.
the families has decreased.
Yeah, so the ones in the old section are all groups of 6, but they're all the same size, and the ones in the new section sections are groups of 4, and each one of those are all the same size.
Correct.
So it's with a little, not that hard as, you know, individual, you know, looking at it and putting things in the ground and measuring. You can, if you find 1 or 2, you can find a whole bunch of different ones of those, so you don't really have to go replace all the ones that's missing. It just takes a little bit more work to find where each individual one is.
But, I mean, the question I have, is, I would think that it should be our responsibility to help them out. At least make sure there's enough there that they can find these lots.
Which we have been doing. But I think Gary needs to, we don't get paid to do that, but I think Gary needs to adjust his fee schedule so that he can better help them than we can. I'll continue to do what I do because I enjoy doing the genealogy with these people.
But I also see on here, like number 2,
Mm-hmm.
if Gary doesn't use number 1 because he didn't have to sell that lot, new family member wants to know where their family member's buried at, and
And that's when they come here.
Gary's gonna go down there and find it for him, he's gonna bill Township $25.
Yep. Which is what we've been doing for nothing. So I don't know, it's a catch-22.
Yeah. I don't know what to say here.
I mean, I'm just bringing up the flip side of it, you know.
Obviously, he does it quite a bit, otherwise he wouldn't have asked.
Yeah, and he did it to all the
Yeah.
townships that he takes care of. So it's not just us, we're not singled out.
So if it's an added cost to Gary Mortensen, and Gary Mortensen's not the one that sold the lot, and they come to the township, and the township said, okay, we're gonna send, and I'm gonna use Tony, we're gonna send Tony around to find where this is at, we have to recoup his costs. Or is that part of his job?
Well, it'll be part of his job, but he's not doing the other job, so I mean, it's costing.
Well, you're
us.
taking
It's-
away.
Right, it's
So
costing him on
should
my
this
head.
just be implemented 100% across the board? And then if Gary Mortensen doesn't do that, if he sells this gravesite to these people here, so-and-so, then he's gonna be responsible for that. If they come down and purchase it from Judy, or whoever the clerk is at the time, then the township's gonna be responsible for that portion of
Okay, anything that he sells, he'll have the responsibility.
it. Yep. And anything that the township sells will have the responsibility.
Like I said, since 2008, I've never sold a lot.
And then at this point, you can implement this right straight across the board, and it's even all the way across the board. If the township sells the lot, there's an additional 10, what was it again?
10%?
10% commission on the sale, 25, 25, and 50, like Andrew said, $82. There's an additional $82 cost to it, and then the township's responsible when they come back and say, I can't find my lot, where's it at? Now I'll go back to the township clerk to say, where's your records at, show me where you buried the man.
What happens if the other three family members come for the same question for the same lot?
And I guess you're gonna eat crow.
You know,
Right.
But I have a
You can-
situation like
You
that
can go
right
on and
now.
on and on.
yeah,
And I
that's,
said that.
you know, that can
Yeah.
happen, you
Yep.
gotta have some way to bill them then, or
Right.
charge them.
I
Well,
got,
how you wrote,
go ahead, Andrew.
how you wrote it in here, it was $25 per trip.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so every time he has to go to the cemetery, it would be another $25 for that family. So, you know, if somebody else came and asked the same question, it'd be, I mean, according to how it's wrote in this letter, it'd be another $25.
It seems like he ought to be able to charge whoever's asking whether he sold the lot or not, at the time they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so whoever's
I
doing
would
the
expect
research
to
would
pay
get the,
somebody to go show me.
Yeah.
yeah, whoever's doing the research would get the $25, so they would pay the township or Gary $25 for it.
But what Gary Mortensen's saying, even if he didn't sell the lot, and they go into his office and say, where is my cousin so-and-so? Gary drives down, shows him where he's buried at. In turn, Gary Mortensen's not gonna send them a bill for $25, he's gonna send the township the bill.
Yeah.
Right.
That's-
Because
Well,
you're
that's what
signing
I
it.
think.
You're signing a contract with Gary Mortensen basically right now, if,
You
like
can't,
this.
you can't ask Gary to amend that?
And can we, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I think we need to ask him to amend it to change, to charge the people, because,
Take care of
you know, you could have somebody else come in here and want to provide the same service. You know, what if I wanted to become, you know, well, not me, but, you know, say somebody wants to become a grave expert and start charging families to do genealogy search. Would it be fair for them to have a business doing a genealogy search and then charging the township for every customer that they provide the genealogy search to?
And we have that one man that does that, comes in here,
right,
and I have to help him with his records. We don't get anything for it.
Right, you know what I mean, but say he charges his customer for that, and then he also charges us to come in and say, hey, where's this person buried at? You know, it just doesn't seem right that the township would be paying for somebody else's business, needs. So I think if we amend it to, he can charge, you know, his customers whatever, you know, whatever he feels is fair for this. You know, and the township do the same, I think that would be a good thing.
It seems like if the people that are using the service aren't paying for it, at the time they use it, it could become quite abusive.
Right, exactly.
That's the term.
Uh,
it's a tough one.
It is.
At Torch Lake Township, I did talk with them, and they said they haven't made a decision yet. But if they do go with him, they're going to have a contract and spell it out exactly. And I think the board is bringing it up. It's wide open right here. And,
Well, can we table it till we find out what the other townships are doing?
well, I don't think it makes any difference what they're doing. It's the way we want to handle it.
You know, if Gary Martinson come to me and told me there'd only be a one-time fee, I wouldn't have a problem with making a motion to pass this.
but this is.
Well, Eric, you'd have to put it, it's not clear now, I agree with you, Sam, it's just not, it's too open to leave it go just like this.
But if their nephew come up next week, Gary said, I'll just run down and show him, and I know right where it's at, but there'll be no cost. And I would take Gary for his word face to face at that point.
Well, is Gary always around to do this for people? I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
if somebody
yeah,
comes into town from up, downstate and says, I need to find a grave, Gary's not gonna be around forever, and he's unavailable 100% of the
But you
time.
got Ronnie and you got Holly there. One of them are generally always around, so, and Holly's done the same thing. Holly took me down, showed me where my dad's was at, so.
Because even number 3 is $25 per trip.
Right.
All right, it needs clarification, there's no question about that.
I mean, you need to ask Gary what his real intent is, probably, to clarify it.
Well, you almost really should draw up a contract or a letter.
Yeah, but first you get his,
Right,
talk to him what his feelings are
Here's
first,
his
though.
feelings.
Well,
That's
that's
right.
on
Yeah,
paper.
here's his feelings, this is what he
He
wants,
wrote
he
it
signed
down,
it.
that's right.
okay, why don't we make a motion like we're doing, and if he comes up with something different, give him the opportunity to come to our next meeting, and, or else us come up with a contract.
Well, why don't we develop a contract, give it to him, and ask him to come to the next meeting?
Well, just make this motion and tell him that's what we're going to do. I mean, we want him to add it to the cost, his cost.
So then he has the responsibility of getting the money from
His client,
the client,
customer, whatever.
or whoever it is.
Can I ask a question? When you go to a big cemetery downstate, you go into office and you say, I want to find somebody's grave. They have a map, and they just tell you
Mhm.
where it is, and you just go over by yourself and find it.
Well, basically, that's what we do, and if they get stuck, they'll come back and I'll go down with them. We'll take the map and go.
Right, that's the way it works. I mean, like, my father-in-law, when we knew where he was buried, but I'll be doggone, I went with a wife if I could find it. Well, I was went in there and they give you a plot and, and I found it.
All the bigger cemeteries has a sexton that's usually working at the site or at a general office where if they have multiple sites, and either the sexton or somebody the sexton appoints can go out and actually show people. There may be a fee, but in the past where I worked, there was no fee, and that's how the public found out where the graves are. And they had cemeteries over 100 years old in Lansing.
You were?
Yeah, I worked at the cemetery for 4 or 5 years in Lansing.
But I'm like you, Joanne, I had to find it myself.
Didn't have
Now, I
to
remember
go
where my
show
parents
you.
were, but my wife's,
You can have a map that shows where.
Where would that map be? That would have to be
It
here.
is, it's on the wall and,
Well, one time you guys passed, entertained a motion to put maps in the cemetery so some people could look at it themselves. They were gonna build this thing and put the layout of the cemetery and lot numbers and names in there, but that never
that would
became.
be just about impossible with keeping it updated.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, you only have 5 or 6 graves a year or 20 a year. I mean, every year you could update it. But I mean, that was a plan 3 or 4 years ago. It never got to fruition.
No, I have the big one on the wall.
Yeah,
And if
I
anybody
know.
comes in, I can show them, get the cards out in the book that I did.
I
And so far,
understand.
that's worked.
It worked for me when I went and looked for my grandparents, so.
Is it possible we could table this and just have Gary, Ronnie, or Holly, one of them show up at next month's meeting
In the meantime,
and talk to us?
sit down, draw up some kind of draft.
I make a motion that we table it till December and present a contract, or whatever, and ask them to be here. Show us
okay,
what-
well, what is, I think we have to have some type of proposal. I mean, go ahead with a motion and tell him that the township doesn't feel that they want to go with this and that he should be charging the fee. And if he wants to change that, he has the opportunity to come to this meeting.
Is there already a motion that you gotta undo, or you're sticking with making an amendment to it?
Was a motion made?
I mean, we're gonna have to do something to move it off center.
Either that or table it.
And we could table it and call him and tell him that, you know, that we feel that he should add the fee to his cost or to the, for doing this, and not township paying.
But line two and line three is the one that comes back at me at that point then.
Yeah.
Line one, I'd be fine with that, Stan, because that tells me 10% commission. He's selling a new lot. I don't have a problem with that. But now if somebody hasn't been up to the Central Lake Southern Cemetery for 20 years and forgot what section they're buried in, he brings them down there, and they were buried 50 years ago, the township's gonna pay $25 for Gary Martinson or Holly or Ronnie to show them where it's at.
Or Bayview. We have no
Yeah,
documentation on
right,
Bayview. Nothing.
Which authorized Stan to negotiate a contract with Gary and bring it back to him for approval.
That would be the motion I would make. If that's what the supervisor wants.
No, I,
Can you
you
say
know,
that a little slower?
That's why he was.
that's what the board wants. Not trying.
I would love to see you, Stan, sit down with Gary Martinson and hammer it out between two of you and come back to us. I really would.
I say we table until December.
Okay, but, you know, we'll have to contact him and tell him we want a contract.
No, have him come in here and work on a contract with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
friendly, yeah,
Huh?
a friendly setting.
Because the
Oh, yeah,
per
no,
trip,
I
the per
agree.
trip is gonna kill us. I have a guy right now who sent me an email. His father just died. There's 4 lots. His grandparents are in 2. He wants to know what the other 2 are gonna happen. He's got cousins. It's like, oh. He doesn't wanna hear my answer, he wants his own answer.
Well, there are some things in here that addresses that.
I said on that, he doesn't like those answers.
That's the answer though.
No.
And this says one person shall be in charge of the, basically the decisions for the lot, or whatever.
And there's 4 of them with 2 lots,
Yeah, but there's supposed to be one person in charge.
but they can't come to that.
Yeah, well, that's the
So
problem.
then I have him calling me, I have his brother, and then the other 2 cousins. So I'm on a first name basis with all of them.
I understand.
So
That's-
that's part of probate.
All right, let's table this and have Gary come in and sit down with you and bring the proposal back in December to the board.
Okay, but the feeling of the board is
It should be
that
Gary.
we don't want to pay this cost.
Right.
That's gotta be part of it.
Yeah, it should be, let him work out a contract with his clients
Right,
and incur that over there, not at this end.
okay. Need a motion to table then, and
I will make a motion to table this and allow Stan to work with Gary Martinson.
I'll support.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public comment.
Is it all right if I take this home? I've seen 3 or 4 paragraphs refer to what I was talking about. I'd like to go over it in more detail, then sit down with Judy and explain to her what I think this means, and then you guys can go from there.
Absolutely.
So sometime in the
I
next
appreciate
couple of
that.
weeks, I'll come in and see you and tell you what I see in here. Or
Because
what I
that's-
interpret in here.
Because that's the first that I've heard about what you said about responsibility of contacts.
Pat was on that committee also,
Pat,
retired teacher from Central Lake High School. She was over, back here.
Budzinski?
Huh?
Budzinski.
I think that's her last name. I only know her by Pat, so. She was on that committee, Marv was, a couple other people were on that committee. but I'll meet with you, Judy, after I go over this in detail, if that's all right with the rest of the board.
Fine, I mean, it needs to be worked out. so.
Okay.
Okay, we're adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Sergeant.